Hey, how you doing? And a good day to you. I know, I didn't put the wig on. I've been really busy trying to get things caught up here. Uh, Welcome to our historic Hunkered Down, Home Alone Together, Happy Holidays. And I'm doing pretty good. Tomorrow, I promise, tomorrow I will show you my decorations other than what you see right there. But for those of you who may remember from a little past week or so, I had the mouse issue. Well, I had someone come over today and plug up the hole underneath my sink where we think the little varmints were coming in from. So you know what that means. Clean everything out from under the sink, clean everything up, get the work done, and then everything's got to go back in. Same thing I did in the cabinet underneath the bathroom. You know what I say, there's no excuse to boredom. If you're bored, just remember, bored people are boring people. And that's the truth. Well, how are you enjoying your holiday today? Do want to remind you, feel free to go to YouTube if you missed any of the videos and you want to see them. And today I want to share the National Day calendar events with you. One of them is today is National Human Rights Day. And I really recommend you go to nationaldaycalendar.org. I think I may actually go on and order myself one of the calendars. Except I like the web page because you can go to the web page and, read information on, if you're not sure, like yesterday with the, what was it? Something Willie, Weary Willie. And it was all about clowning and clowns. And so today's National Human Rights Day, which is really, really important. And I would love for you to go there and read it because it talks about the various rights that all humans have a right to. And even though that's a part of our national system, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, etc., 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 those should be human rights for not only all humans, but animals too. Not that I mean, it's nice that we have nice zoos where you can go see animals while they're taken care of and have a relatively good life, but a lot of times they were just meant to be in the wild. Not going into the mouse thing because this is my place. They have to find their own place, and nature provided lots of places for them to find their own place. Just saying. So mouse rights may exist, but they don't exist in my house. They got their own place to go. It is also the first day of Hanukkah. And that means it's very special on a few levels. I'm not particularly Jewish, but Jesus was. And he practiced the Jewish faith. And it's the roots of our Christian faith. But I like to look at all the different faith groups and the things that they hold in common, that they're just based on spiritual principles that can bless and remind everyone of the presence and power of God in our lives. For example, on Hanukkah, they had just finished rebuilding the temple. Now, once the temple was rebuilt, it had to be dedicated. And in order to dedicate the temple, they needed to keep the light burning for 8 days. Well, due to some stuff going on, they did not have oil but for 1 day. So, how do you keep a candle burning an oil lamp. It's an oil lamp, not a candle as we know it. But how do you keep that burning for 8 days when you only have the oil for one? Well, what they did is they prayed. And they dedicated that temple, and that lamp, which only had enough oil for one day, burned for 8 days. Why is that important to me? Because it reminds me when things feel bad, if I'm feeling a sense of lack or frustration or impatience, which I'm really good at impatience, I feel like I have, anxiety, and I keep remembering God came through. God came through. And what a perfect time to have that, the candle, to the reminder. We're also moving in, let's see, today is the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and then the 18th. Okay, so we're moving in to the darkest night, the longest night of the year, which is the 21st. So Hanukkah takes us till the 18th. So there's still, the nights are getting longer. Come the 21st, we're going to be gaining a couple minutes of extra daylight each day. And it's going to start to get nicer. We have nothing to complain about weather-wise here at this point. Yeah, we've had some pretty wicked winds, had rain, haven't had a lot of snow, so we know that's coming. And I feel relatively comfortable that I'm ready for it. And I think for most of us, the challenge is that Christmas will not be, the way we want it to be. But that's so neither here nor there. But back to Hanukkah. There's another thing that means for me. Hanukkah, the first night of Hanukkah, and we celebrate with our Jewish brothers and sisters, and it's not a huge holiday like some of the other ones, but this is that reminder. And typically, now here, well, of course, if you watch my Rise of the False Gods videos, which are on the book I wrote, I talk about how our holidays are hijacked with gifts. Now, it's said in the material that I had read, and I've done Hanukkah for years, in my modified, metaphysical version. But it said in the article that I read on National Day Calendar that typically they did not have presents on Hanukkah. But I read that they get a gift every night with the biggest gift, little trinkets, and the big gift comes, whatever it is, on the last night of Hanukkah. So even what I call the false gods, which are Mammon, which is materialism stuff, and ego, Baal, which is the nature god, which is ego and stuff like that, that's moved into the spiritual part of Hanukkah. So where they didn't have gifts, but now they do. They also play a game that I played with my great-grandson and his aunt and uncle, who are in their young teens. And we played dreidel when I went down there for Christmas last year. Oh well. And we played it, and you play it for chocolates, for gelt, which is chocolate candy. But tonight, on my first night of Hanukkah this year, I'm having my tradition, which is potato pancakes. Now, if you want to know how we make them, go ahead and get your paper and pencil, because I keep saying I'm going to, post the recipe, but, my life gets taken over by to-dos and it doesn't get done. So I'm going to tell you how to make potato pancakes. I'm going to tell you for one, so you multiply it by as many people as in your family. Now, there's a trick to this, you see. when we were kids, I remember my mom had this big bowl, and she would make that big old bowl full of pancake batter, and she would have 3 frying pans going, and we would have contests to see how many potato pancakes we could eat. And I'm not kidding, 10, 12, that we could do that. And man, I was so skinny back then, it didn't matter. Well, I don't do that anymore. So there's also secrets to making them. Now, my parents came from one of my grandparents was from the European ones. My dad's parents, one was from Poland, and the other one from Russia. No, Russia and Lithuania. You know, they changed the names of the countries a lot, but in that area. So we had potato pancakes all our life, but my grandmother had a way to make them that's very old and traditional. You may or may not wish to go to this trouble. There's the long way and the short way. So, for each person, you have a medium potato and 1 egg and a heaping tablespoon of flour. You know, soup spoon. You know what you got at home, there's teaspoons and tablespoons, one of those. And a little salt. Now, you wash them, scrub them, and if they're organic, you can just scrub them real good and cut them up and leave the peels on. That's a little extra nutrition in it. Or if you're not sure if they're not organic, peel the potatoes, and I'll give you the long way first, okay? And you have a bowl, and you have a grater. You know the potato grater? Not a shredder, a grater. It makes it smaller. So you grate the potato, okay? And so as many people as you're doing, you grate that many potatoes. Now you'll notice that the potatoes oxidize somewhat as you are grating them. So they might get like either pinky or gray on the top. That's just oxidation. That's nothing. Now, the way my grandmother made them, the secret is after you grate the potatoes into the bowl, and she had a thing, it was about that big with a handle, and it had like a wire mesh back and forth, and that's what she grated on. It was quite amazing, but it works on a traditional grater as well. So here's the secret, and you can't do this the short way. You can only do it the long way. She would put her hand over the potatoes and tip up the pot and push on the potatoes a little bit after they were grated to get extra liquid out. That's a secret. You get the extra liquid out, put it back, okay. And so that is the best way. The fast way, peel the potatoes or scrub them, depending on what you got, chop them up, throw them in the blender. And you throw in 1 egg and blend them. Okay, so from here it goes the same. So you got your processed potatoes, put in the egg, put in the flour and salt, stir it up, and now you want to have, you are not deep frying them, but you do have more than just a coating on the bottom of the pan. So I don't know, maybe 3/8 of an inch, maybe a quarter inch tops. No, maybe not even a quarter inch. A generous amount of oil in the bottom without being deep frying. And you get it hot. You know how to tell when it's hot enough? Just stick your finger under the faucet and boop, flick off a drop of water into the oil, and when it goes pop, it's done. If you put it in and then nothing happens, it's not hot enough, but when it gets hot enough, the water's going to go boop, and it's done. You then put in, you know, I'm concerned about how much, oil I told you to put in. You know, I'm one of those cooks, I've been doing it for almost hundreds of years, you know, and you just remember, okay, about this much oil. So that's about a 1/4 of an inch or less, 1/4 of an inch or less of oil, okay? Okay, so you put in the pancake batter, and You don't want it too high. If you have it too high, it's going to be burned on the outside, raw on the inside. So turn the heat to like a little bit below high. My thing has like 10 notches, so it's at 8 notches. And then as soon as it gets hot enough, I turn it down to 6 notches, and I cook it that way for the rest. But you put the batter in, and they start to sizzle. They start to get golden around the edges. And when they start to dry out on the top, that's when you flip them over. When I flip them over, I move the pan around a little bit so that the oil recoats the area that I'm just taking it out of. You may have to add a little extra oil with each batch that you fry. You don't want them too greasy, though. The oil's not hot enough. You put them in the grease, they're going to soak up grease. They're not going to cook. Little tricks. Okay. So after they're cooked on one side, flip them over on the other side. And what I do is I put a tiny pat of butter on the top of each one. So while they're cooking on the other side, the butter gets melty. Now, if there's, if you got a larger family that's all going to be eating this, put your oven on to like 150, 200 degrees. And if you got a big oven, oven safe platter or a baking dish or something, toss the pancakes in there, throw them in the oven while you do the rest. If you've got 2 or 3 pans, for a larger family, go for it. A medium potato is going to make 6 pancakes about that big. How many can I eat? How many should I eat? I probably could eat all 6 without a problem. I try to eat 3 and have it with salad and or another vegetable. We don't have meat with them. That's the way we have it. We have potato pancakes. We get potato pancakes. Now, some people top their potato pancakes with applesauce, some with sour cream. My brother, for some unknown reason, puts ketchup on his. I'll never figure that one out. And I top mine with cottage cheese. For those of you who are vegetarians, the protein in the cheese and the potato work together to make what's called a complete protein. You are good to go. So that is, I'm going to be having potato pancakes and salad for supper tonight. So I'm very excited about that. Some people say, well, I don't cook much. I live alone. I cook for myself, and I cook for myself. Good. Okay. All right. Now, a little extra step. I can't stand how fast the time goes by when we're visiting because there's so many things I want to say, and I can't get them out. I'll tell you about last night. It was a challenge I had, which is why I really want to share it with you. I heard something very, very disturbing on the news. I suppose in another 4, 5, 10 years, what I experienced won't matter a whole lot. I can't stand looking at my hair. I have to look at myself, when I'm doing these videos. I'm going, oh, tomorrow the wig. So anyway, I heard something on the news that was so disturbing, and I'm so tired. I feel so weary of challenging news, of bad things going on in the world. And this time it was yet another discouraging and disturbing word about what was going on with a challenge to the election. And then you top that with 3,100 people. 3,100 people yesterday died from coronavirus. Stay home. And there was in Iowa or Idaho, there was a meeting of some health department people. It was about dealing with COVID, and they're voting on a mask initiative to say, yes, everyone will be required to wear masks if they're out of their house. Well, what happens is a bunch of no-mask protesters, loud and violent, showed up. It was a virtual meeting, and a bunch of protesters showed up outside of the house of one of the local representatives who was a part of the meeting, and started a big ruckus and threats outside of the house. Well, that member of the committee wasn't there. He wasn't doing the meeting from his home. He was doing it elsewhere. And his 12-year-old son was home alone. You know, and I kept saying, you know, God, I know everything is going to work out for good. I know this is going to be okay. Despite any fear and trepidation and anything that's going on, I know you are in charge. I know, and I trust you. And I was practically quaking with overwhelm of all of it. And you know what Spirit said to me? Is that showing how you trust me? So if I trust, I have to try to let go of the thoughts that torment with this stuff. We have to do the best we can and live the best life we know how, despite it all. And that's what I'm calling us all to do. So what do? You know, I didn't want to, who am I going to call and gripe to them about? I heard something that was so distressing. I mean, it built up in me. When I first heard it, it was distressing, but it was slam one bit of news, slam another bit of news, slam the third bit, and it's like, pull the hair out, you know? And I knew I had to shift my mind, because where the mind goes, energy flows and manifestation follows, and I did not want to manifest anything horrible. And yes, Cheryl said, can we be trustful but also scared or worried at the same time? And the answer is, to the degree we have to be, yes, it's natural. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, but we're still having a human experience. And in that time is when I pray, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Now at the same time, I know I've got to get my mind off of it, because it was making me crazy. And one thing you do is you talk to somebody. Well, for whatever reason, I didn't choose to call someone. I don't know if it was the hour or whatever. So I decided what I was going to do was get busy on a project. So, and that's what I want to share with you today. You see here, you know what that is, of course? That is a tube sock. And I picked up a pair of them quite a while ago, because I wanted to make dog toys for my great-grandson's dogs for Christmas. So let me show you what I did. This is hilarious. Ta-da! And I'm going to put poofy purple hair, of course. I'm going to put some poofy purple hair on it. And so I used hot glue gun to put the felt on, because if you're going to make something for a dog or a small child, you want to make sure that's not going to come off. In other words, you never make anything with buttons for eyes or buttons or anything like that. And you seal it down nice and tight with the glue. And same thing with the eyes. And if it's, a lot of times I'll also stitch around the edges, but I put so much glue on these, there was no way I could even get a needle in to stitch around the edges. And you could, I suppose, put something inside that would make noise or something, but you know, they could chew it out. So it's better if you just, this is just stuffing. Now let's say you're stuck at home, don't want to go to the store, you happen to have a pair of old tube socks. You don't need to have new socks. I happen to get them. I'm just kind of fluffing out. I'm making it stuffing all nice and even. It's something that takes a while sometimes. And this I wound, I put some hot glue onto the yarn, where you could use string, yarn, whatever, and I put the hot glue on it, and then I wrapped it around and tied it. So it really got in there tight, because you don't want to get anything they're going to ingest or anything like that. You got to make sure you make it, you make them special. So if you wanted to see something funny, you should have seen when I was putting that first eye on the sock. Oh, well, so here's a hint. If you decide to try that, I took some aluminum foil because I was going to use wax paper, but I was afraid that'd get hot and sticky or whatever. So I took aluminum foil and I folded it to make a patch like that and pushed it into the sock. So when I used the glue, the hot glue, that it wouldn't go through and stick to the other side of the sock and I wouldn't be able to get the stuffing in. You put the decorations on before you stuff it, okay? Just in case you have to do any needle stitching or anything. So the doggone thing had so much glue, hot glue on it, and I'm touching it, and I'm ow, 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 and it's flipping around and sticking to my fingers. It's been too long since I used the hot glue gun. So I had to, peel the stuff off, and so then what I did is I put the hot glue onto the eye. Now, normally if I weren't being so careful to make sure that dog was not going to chew that stuff off, I would have had less glue and less chance of getting it all over me. But I put the thing on the eye, and then I laid it down and pressed it. Now, I suppose, now that I think of it, because hindsight is 20/20, I could have put the hot glue onto the toy, duh, and then stuck the eye in, duh. Well, I got another one to make because he's got 2 dogs, so I will make the other one tonight. But I wanted to show you how easy it is. Yeah. So Cheryl, you were hot gluing yesterday. Did you hot glue your fingers at all? Yeah, she said I was doing the same thing. Ow, ow, ow. It's the way it is. Well, that was enjoyable. And so I hope you got some ideas today. And I hope you enjoyed my silly story about my hot glue gun. And also to know about Hanukkah and a recipe for potato pancakes. Oh, so what I was going to say is between the easy method, which is the the blender, and the harder hand process, which is grating, someday when you got nothing else to do, let's say you're confined to your home because of a pandemic, try it both ways. And if you got a family at home with you, try it both ways and give them a taste test. There is no reason for anyone to ever be bored with all the fun and silly things we can think of to do. Life is meant to be good, and I hope it's good for you today and every day. And remember, if something's bothering you, find someone to talk to. You can find me. Usually you can message me on Facebook and find me there, or a dear friend or relative, someone you can talk to that doesn't want to fix your problem. They want to listen to you. Maybe give you a little idea or two, Or get yourself involved in a project. I was very surprised when I saw how much time had elapsed. Oh, one other thing. After you graduate from this, you could probably move on to this. This is what I call my Socksy Pals. I call them monkey shines. And I make these lovely little sock. These come from a pair of socks. They're special socks. They're called Red Heel socks. And I think it's the Fox River is the name of the company that makes the socks. And so this is like one sock makes the body and the legs, and this is the heel of the sock, and this is the heel of the other sock, and it's very easy. And tomorrow, maybe I will show you, because what I'd like to do is build a monkey through the next week, and each day show you a little bit more about how I built it. If you want to build one of these yourself, you just can't do this. That's mine. That's mine. I do the little hearts on there because I do the heart. I stitch on. Everything here is hand stitched. You can get them in the store. Excuse me, that are machine made. All mine is homemade, handmade, with all the product, all the everything that I assemble it with, everything I can get that is made in America, I use made in America. But with this, I stitch around the edges, and then I stitch a little cross in the middle, and that means God loves you, and so do I. But you can't see that unless somebody tells you. That's my thing. So, if you want to do that, contact Fox River, order yourself some socks. I don't know how fast they'll come in. Maybe they'll come fast enough for you to make a sock monkey for someone that you love. Now, just so you know, because I hand stitch these and everything, like I sell these in the store at the campground. This is the last one, but I got a bunch more to make for next season. But like this cost $45. You see the size of it? So is that a lot for a toy? Yes, it is. But remember we talked yesterday about everything we touch, we put our love into? These are made with love. They're made with love and care, and very often they are, I make them individual for people. They tell me something about what they like, and I try to include that if I can. So that is my little Soxy Pal, my monkey shine. I'm not doing it to sell you. I'm just trying to help you understand that crafters rarely get paid for their hours. But the satisfaction's worth it. And when you're giving it, you're not just giving a sock monkey. You're giving a whole lot of love and time and energy and probably blood, sweat, and tears from poking your fingers and trying to get that stuffing in the tail. All right. A good day to you. God bless, and I hope I see you tomorrow. If you want to watch my False Gods video, new one will be up tonight. We're doing it at 10 o'clock. So, God bless and help. And that's, of course, if you're watching it on this day, which is December 10th, 2020. Other than that, the videos are all on YouTube. Have a great day. God bless.